So I started off just casually thinking about energy and mana supplies in FGO dojins, but then my brain did a complete nosedive, and before I knew it, I was spiraling into the abyss, obsessing over something I never thought I'd care about: the fuel source for the Shadow Border in FGO Part 2. And when I say obsessing, I mean really obsessing. So, of course, the next logical step was to hunt down every mention of fuel in FGO's story. Yup, I dug deeper and deeper until my sanity straight up evaporated. So let's break this down together. I want you to be just as confused as I am, because trust me, this whole fuel situation, it's wild. Remember that wild ride in Russia? Yeah, there's this sneaky little convo about the Shadow Border that you might have missed. Holmes casually drops a line about magical energy and fuel. This goes down in section 17, right when Billy's also hanging around on the border. Holmes mentioned that they had replenished the Shadow Border's magical energy using the land's natural magic and were fully stocked on fuel, so the border was ready to go. But there's something weird here. Holmes says, and it just feels off, right? I know some of you feel that too. At least we know the Shadow Border needs fuel. But what kind? A magical reactor? An endless energy generator? Something magical, right? Energy can be converted through magecraft easily. But then, the story keeps teasing us with more hints that the fuel can run out. Yep, it can. And it needs to be replenished. So, it's pretty much impossible for this to be some kind of infinite magical reactor. In the Chinese Lost Belt, Da Vinci was busy brainstorming the most efficient hacks to keep us going, telling everyone that they were embarking on another zero sale, whether they were ready or not. She explained that they wanted to conserve the border's fuel as much as possible, so she planned to use the inertia from their launch at the Wandering Sea. Da Vinci also mentioned that they would be emerging inside the Lost Belt without any guidance, just like they had in Scandinavia. So, despite having all the resources of the Wandering Sea, there's still a concern about fuel running out. Even if we could refuel every time we came back, why can't we just stock up on fuel canisters on the border? Is there a gas station in the Wandering Sea? Do they even sell gas? Or how does that even work? In Oku, Sion dropped some knowledge about Spiritrons, where she mentioned that she had ensured there was a wide variety of food and recreation available, so everyone's mental and physical needs would be met. She added that she had spent all the Atlas Spiritron points she had been saving for years to acquire them, encouraging everyone to make the most of it. Here, she basically said that Spiritrons could be used as a substitute for resources. I don't know anything about Atlas Point though. But then during the imaginary Scramble event, things got even more interesting. Nemo engineer pointed out that they needed to get to dry dock to address the fuel inefficiencies and the loud engine rattling. He also mentioned that they had lost a significant amount of fuel, so rapid maneuvers and speed changes weren't an option anymore. Nemo Marine then explained that beds had been set up for everyone, but meals might be basic since most of their food supply was lost along with the fuel. This meant the servants would have to rely on magical energy for a while. This confirmed that their fuel wasn't magical energy since the Nautilus still had plenty of it, and the servants were using it without issue. If our fuel is magical energy, why can't we just share the energy meant for the servants? Maybe this isn't relevant because it's the Nautilus, but the whole concept of fuel still needs to be addressed. Then, as they headed to Avalon Le Fay, things just got even weirder. In Avalon Le Fay, Gordolf was panicking and demanding updates, and Da Vinci responded by explaining that the storm border had taken extensive damage to its starboard side. She also mentioned that they had lost a significant amount of fuel during the recent battle. To address the situation, they would need to keep the border stationary in mid-air for refueling and armor repairs. Da Vinci added that if they could extract atmospheric mana, it would take at least 20 minutes to repair the ship, though she preferred to have 30 minutes. See, this led to more ambiguity. While the focus was on repairs, it was unclear whether the atmospheric mana would help with refueling as well, or if it was only meant for repairs. The sentence focus is on repairs, but what about the fuel? In Tunguska, Nemo revealed that the storm border would be flying erratically across the Earth to avoid detection by the alien god, with landings only planned for refueling and maintenance. Despite being an exceptional vessel, the storm border would eventually reach its limits without a port, and Nemo mentioned they could only manage one more large-scale operation before that limit was reached. Okay, so it's confirmed. The storm border has to land for refueling, which makes sense. That means the refuel we did back in Lost Belt 6 was just converting atmospheric mana into energy to keep the storm border running. In Traun, Da Vinci mentioned that they had zipped across the Eurasian continent, occasionally making landfall to convert the remaining buildings into Spiritrons to replenish their resources. Now apparently, the leftover buildings we saw before heading into Lost Belt 2 can be turned into Spiritrons, which is basically just pure magical energy, or mana, right? Sounds simple enough, but here's the kicker. We've already seen multiple instances where it's made clear that our fuel isn't magical energy. Spiritrons, on the other hand, are used for Trismegistus 2 and summoning, and we've never once had to worry about running out of those. So, let's play with the idea. If Spiritrons are just refined magical energy, could they actually be used as fuel? I mean, we know Spiritrons can shapeshift as long as they're still a singular unit, and we don't even know what Storm Border's fuel looks like. Well, that still doesn't add up. Because the fuel can run out, it kinda contradicts everything we've been told so far. And if atmospheric mana can be converted into energy like we saw in Lost Belt 6, why is refueling even an issue in the first place? You guys feel me, right? I'm not even gonna bother digging deeper in Lost Belt 7 because I'm sure they won't explain the fuel situation there either. Plus, I want to wait for the official translation to drop first before diving in. But seriously, there has to be an answer. Why couldn't they just say, our fuel is magical energy and call it a day? Nope, they had to make it different for some reason. You know what? Let's do a quick review. Holmes and Nemo have made it clear that fuel and magical energy are two completely different things, and our fuel isn't some kind of magical substance. Da Vinci even pointed out that we're so worried about running out of fuel that we had to rely on inertia from the wandering sea just to get moving. Then Sion comes in saying, Spiritrons can be used as resources, and while they have a lot of uses, the fact that we're panicking about running out of fuel pretty much shuts down the idea that Spiritrons could be our fuel. This is backed up by sourcebook material stating that Spiritrons can only change form when they're in a singular unit. So, our fuel is probably liquid, and then Nemo says we need to land to refuel, which means the engine has to stop, or the fuel input is outside. Finally, Da Vinci hits us with the revelation that atmospheric mana can be converted into fuel like we saw in Avalon Lefay, which I still don't understand. If I had to give a logical answer, then yeah, it's probably gasoline. But like, where are they even getting gasoline? The Earth's bleached, the resources are gone. It's been over a year, and even if the wandering sea had some oil, there's no way it was enough for a giant whale-sized ship like the Storm Border that's been running for months. If anyone's got any wild theories or answers, hit me up in the comments. Before we smash that alien god at the end, I want to know the truth behind our mysterious fuel. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment so I don't run out of ideas.